Hi all, Wise Wolf here, and welcome back to New Harbour Wildlife Reserve. I hope you had a fantastic Christmas or whatever holiday you celebrate with your family. I also hope you brought in the new year with joy. This episode is a split episode with two habitat builds in one. The reason being is because after putting together the first episode, which is the prime topic, the Bongo, the episode was 7 minutes long, and that would not have done well for the algorithm. So we're also sneaking in the Mandrill into this episode. This will conclude the little rainforesty section in the now named Sub-Saharan Walk, New Harbour's entrance precinct. I know in the last episode I did explain that I was going to bring in some story to the animals that are brought into New Harbour, but I couldn't find an easy way to do it without it being too, how do I put this, cringe? So I'm just going to go back to how things were with last year in New Harbour Wildlife Reserve. Now, the reason why I've included two animals, as stated, is because the Bongo part of this build ended up being a very short episode. And that's because the Bongo habitat in real time took me not even an hour to construct. It was very quick, very easy, and honestly, I still reckon it turned out quite alright for a build that didn't take strenuous time or hours to construct. Most of my builds have taken me 2 to 3 hours, sometimes 4 or 5. But this one took me, I think, 45 minutes in total, and that's why when sped up, it landed at only 7 minutes long. The Bongo, also known as Trigelaphus urocyrus, is a type of antelope native to the forests of Central and West Africa. Bongos are large, striking antelopes with a reddish-brown coat and white vertical stripes across their bodies. They have long spiral horns, which are present in both males and females, although males' horns tend to be thicker and longer. Here we have our male Bongo for New Harbour, shortly to be joined by 3 female companions. Now let's get some foliage into this habitat, shall we? Bongos are herbivores, primarily feeding on leaves, fruit and shrubs. They are known for being quite shy and are typically found in dense tropical forests. When you build for bongos in Planet Zoo, it is recommended you put up some hiding places for them to hide away from guest view and include some one-way glass. I didn't know this at the time, but eventually did put up some one-way glass off camera. You'll see that in the final cinematic. But back to the Bongo. The behaviours of the Bongo are nocturnal and tend to be elusive, often avoiding direct human contact. They are known for their agility and strength, which helps them navigate their forested environment. The Bongo is considered a vulnerable species, with habitat loss, poaching, and hunting being primary threats to their population. Talking a little bit about the build for the Bongos, I have positioned this to a conjoining wall with the black and white ruffed lemurs. In the event the black and white ruffed lemurs that were rescued from Orchid City Zoo do return to their original creator, the dividing wall will be knocked down and the Bongos will be given free rein of the whole area, the black and white ruffed lemur land area and their current habitat. Admittedly, the habitat is quite watery and probably will come back through and change off camera some of this water to land just to give the Bongos a little bit more land, but they are very happy with it nonetheless. Talking a little bit more about the physical characteristics of the Bongos, males typically weigh between 180 to 270 kilograms, while females are somewhat smaller. Their body length ranges from 1.8 to 2.4 meters, including their long, muscular legs. The white stripes on the sides of their bodies help them blend into the forest environment. The coloration is particularly useful for camouflage in dense forested habitats. As mentioned, both males and females have the horns, although males' horns are larger and spiraled. These horns can grow 90 centimeters long and are used for defense in fights between males for dominance or for mating rights. Something I didn't touch on were their eyes and ears. Bongos have large dark eyes and well-developed ears, allowing them to detect movement and sounds in forest surroundings where the visibility is often limited. Let's begin construction on the mandrill's habitat. The mandrills were not planned to be a part of New Harbour Wildlife Reserve and were a last-minute addition when I had this weird open space that I really didn't know what to use here. Mandrill's barrier requirements in the game can be either by fence or with a little moat. So we're going to have a little moat with some aquatic plants to set up the perimeter of the habitat with a low-lying fence so guests can see over there and see in. The fence is just to make sure that guests wouldn't fall in a real zoo. The mandrill or mandrillus sphinx is a type of primate. In the past in Planet Zoo, before I started putting things on YouTube, I didn't like to build for primates. I made small exceptions for lemurs because they're adorable, but primates are just kind of bland in my opinion. Their climbing animations are super buggy, and they just are really annoying to keep happy. So I just tend to not build for primate species. I made an exception for the mandrill though, because the only other viable option to put back here would have been something like the okapi, but that would have been too similar to the bongo, and I did not have the right amount of space to include the okapi there, because as you'll see in the next video, right across the way will be the giraffe and zebra combined habitat in a little ditch savanna. I'm not the greatest fan of primate species. I do love the lemurs because they're adorable, but in all honesty, I didn't even know mandrills existed until watching Jumanji: The Next Level with the mandrill rope bridge scene. But since then, I have done some research on the mandrill, and I can tell you now that mandrills are one of the most colourful primates, similar to baboons. Males in particular have brightly coloured faces with blue and red skin, as well as a red nose and a vibrant rump. Their long, sharp canine teeth are also prominent. Females are less colourful, but still share similar facial features. Mandrills are omnivores, feeding on a variety of foods, including fruits, seeds, roots, and small animals like insects and birds. Mandrills are also known to forage in groups. They are quite social animals that live in large groups, often consisting of up to several hundred individuals. For the purposes of the complexity meter, we only have 5 here at New Harbour, that you will see quite shortly. They communicate through vocalizations, facial expressions, and body language, especially among males, to establish their dominance. Like the bongo, the mandrill is classified as a vulnerable species, with population declines due to habitat loss and hunting, as well as the bushmeat trade, which is just a very sickening thing to think of. I got some fun facts here about the mandrills that I learned while digging up about the information on them for this video. Facial coloration. The bright red and blue coloration of male mandrills is one of the most recognizable features of the species. However, this color is not just for mating displays, but also acts as a sign of males' health and also their status. The red on their noses and rumps intensifies during mating season as a visual cue to females. Mandrills are also extremely sociable animals. A single troop can include up to 800 individuals. Though such large groups are rare, their social interactions are highly complex and are based on a system of grooming, vocalization, and body language. As mentioned, I'm not the biggest fan of primates, but if I had to pick one that I do like, other than the lemurs, because honestly, who couldn't fall in love with a black and white ruffed lemur? It would honestly have to be a mandrill, because they're just one of the most fascinating species, with their red and blue faces. Right here, we're introducing our first mandrill into its new home. This one's a female. You can tell because it is quite small compared to the keeper, where males are typically a little bit larger. I needed the mandrills in here so I could get the terrain painting done correctly, as I've never built for them, as well as to make sure I get the correct number of foliage, because again, I've never built for them, and unlike some other animals, I can't really place foliage without knowing what they need in their requirements. I also placed in a few enrichment items, including the foraging pen, or whatever it's called, the foraging feeder box thing. It's not really a box. I changed the climbing structures so they were a little bit smaller because I didn't like the tallness of them. And yeah, just to give some diversity in the climbing structures. As we approach the end of the video, allow me to discuss a little about the plan for New Harbour in 2025. In the month of January, we'll be finishing off the Sub-Saharan Walk. The whole area is finished as of the time of this recording and of this upload. I just need to put over a voiceover for the zebra and giraffe build and the lion build, and then put together a tour for the whole area in its completed entirety. Starting February, we will be moving along to the Southern Hemisphere Conservation Walk. This will include the following species: Bird's tapir, Galapagos giant tortoise, maned wolf, platypus, jaguar, giant anteater, koala, and dingo. Those last four come into console on the 29th of January, which for Australia is the 30th of January. I'm not gonna lie, I am salty that we didn't get Australia and Oceania pack together. It's a little heartbreaking, but what will we do? But anyway, here's a little cinematic, and I hope you enjoyed this video.